In this video, I will cover two mind maps at once. Okay, so first, I will walk you through the IT roles on a high level. So I'll just show you what are the categories of IT professionals. And then we will dive deeper. We will break it all down to very specific IT roles. Okay, so these are all the people you are likely to interact with if you are an IT recruiter or you plan to become one. So it's very likely that you will be screening or interviewing software developers, analysts, architects, testers, IT managers, executives, designers. Okay, so let me just walk you through these categories at first, and then I'll show you, for example, how software developers could be categorized further to front-end developers, back-end developers, mobile app developers. Okay, so let's dive right in. So we are looking at the high-level mind map at first. We can see IT roles in a few categories. For example, software developers or analysts, architects, testing and QA specialists. So these are the people who test the functionality that software developers develop. And IT managers, well, someone needs to also manage those developers and other contributors, right? Data and BI specialists also include, for example, data engineers or data analysts. So we will talk about these different roles in a minute. Let me just mention designers. These are the people who design the visual interface of those web or mobile applications. DevOps engineers need to take care of the cloud and also adopt the modern DevOps best practices, all these tools, and ensure that the DevOps culture is in place. Support specialists, these usually support either internal staff or customers. So it also depends on the company. What do they actually provide? What kind of service? If they have some customers who use the product, for example, software as a service product, well, then it's very likely that the company will also have some support specialists to help customers overcome some challenges. Cloud specialists, it's similar to DevOps engineers, although DevOps engineers take care of more than just, cloud specialists only take care of the particular cloud, whether it is Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud, but DevOps engineers take care of not just the cloud, but also the adoption of best practices within the DevOps area. Cybersecurity specialists are really in demand these days because they need to ensure the application is safe. And network and system administrators are also important because some organizations are really huge and they have lots of different systems in place. They have lots of different computers connected with each other. They have printers and other peripheral devices. They may have security cameras or whatnot, right? So it all needs to be connected and it all needs to be secure and it needs to be up and running constantly. So you see that all these IT professionals contribute with different skills, and they some of them focus on writing the code, software developers, for example, while others sort of support them. For example, analysts or testers or IT managers even, they ensure that software development teams perform up to expectations. Okay, and then they can also be divided into some categories. So we will explore these on the next mind map. Okay, we will see both web developers, mobile, desktop developers, and we can also categorize them based on what part or what layer do they focus on, whether it is backend or front end or the storage. So there is a lot we can explore when it comes to software development. These are the most in-demand IT professionals, so we should spend extra time focusing on these. And by the way, inside the Tech Recruitment Academy, you will also find dedicated modules that focus on these categories. So for example, just thinking of software developers or web developers even, we have a module that focuses on how to recruit web developers, another module how to recruit mobile app developers, another module how to recruit analysts and architects. So if you go to the Tech Recruitment Academy, you can just scroll down in the training modules list, and you will be able to find some of these modules. For example, now I'm just looking at recruiting web developers. Okay, so this is the one I mentioned. So if you have any client who is looking for web developers, then you will find this one useful, because at first you will learn the essential IT terminology, and then you will learn how to analyze particular job requirements, and then how to find web developers on LinkedIn or GitHub, and then how to screen them with screening questions. And the same logic or the same structure applies also with these other roles, other categories of IT professionals. Thinking of analysts and architects, or I mentioned designers, I mentioned IT support specialists. So once you have a job requirement that is related to some of these IT professionals, then you will learn the appropriate IT terminology, then how to analyze the job requirement, how to find candidates on LinkedIn, GitHub, how to come up with the Boolean search strings, and then how to screen candidates with really good screening questions that will reveal if the candidate is any good or not. Okay, so with that, I'll go to the Mindmap again, and we will dive deeper now. Okay, are you guys ready? Are you ready to dive deeper? So I'll scroll down to the Mindmap on the page number 9, where we see a breakdown of all these roles. So on a high level, it is the same categories, just expanded with more nodes. So for example, software engineers, now I expand to web developers, front-end developers, back-end developers. Full stack developers means front-end and back-end. So some developers create both the front-end user-facing application and also the back-end part of it, the back-end APIs, we could say. So let me just walk you through some of these key terms on this side of the mind map, and then we will progress through the rest. Okay, are you guys ready? This will be harder and harder as we progress, so stay with me. So web developers usually use some website builders or content management systems. We are talking about providers such as Wix or Square. These companies may also include WordPress, Joomla, Drupal. So these are the content management systems. And if you've already watched my previous video where I talked about the must-know IT acronyms, then you would already know what does CMS stand for, Content Management System. And you would even remember from the must-know IT terms that the three popular ones are WordPress, Drupal, and Joomla. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that web developers usually use some of these ready-made tools, ready-made programs to create some websites. So, it's web development, but it's not the hardcore web development. This is the easier kind of web development where they already build up on some of these existing websites and they change the interface here and there a little. But front-end developers, as we can see here, need to use some programming language. For example, JavaScript or TypeScript. You will see on another map the slight difference between JavaScript and TypeScript. But for now, let's just simplify it so you are not too confused, because TypeScript is built on top of JavaScript. But anyway, JavaScript is a programming language, and React, Angular, Vue.js, Ember are some related frameworks that these IT professionals use. So a framework is supposed to help developers start a new project from scratch easier and faster. They need to use some programming language like JavaScript, and they build front end. Okay, so that's why front end, JavaScript, React developers or front-end JavaScript Angular developers. And then some developers don't want to work on front end just because they don't like the user interface and whatnot. They only want to focus on the backend side, the APIs. They only want to work on the business logic, not the user-facing nice website. So these developers can choose from a few more languages. So JavaScript as well, but Python is another language they can choose from, or Java, or PHP, or C#, or Ruby, or Perl, even though Perl is not as popular these days anymore. But Python is, or Java, PHP, C#, these are very popular programming languages. And as you can see, each of the programming languages has some framework. And the frameworks, well, you can imagine a framework as a template. So a developer who is starting a new project would not start it completely on the green field. It would be very inefficient always to start from scratch, completely blank page, right? So they just look around, they look at some other websites, and you would see that a lot of websites have the same functionality. There is a login, there is registration, there is some security handling, there is a connection to a database. So developers can reuse some of the functionality that others have already made work, and it's been proven very efficient. So they can reuse some of those frameworks, some of those templates. For example, when a developer works with Python, they would choose either Django or Flask framework to start a new project. When a developer uses Java, well, then they would use either J2EE framework or set of APIs, or Spring framework. They could use Hibernate also to connect to a database more effectively. So there are different frameworks that these IT professionals can use to simplify their work on a daily basis. They don't have to start from scratch all the time. Or PHP developers, for example, can use either Laravel or Symfony to start new projects. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. They don't have to start with a blank sheet of paper. C# developers would use .NET Core, .NET Framework. Ruby developers would use Ruby on Rails. So there are certain frameworks. And why is this important, you may ask? Well, this is important because based on these frameworks, you can notice who are you actually talking to. If you are looking at the profile on LinkedIn and the person has written Spring there, well then, you may assume, if it is in the technical context, because Spring could also refer to, a part of the year, but assuming it's within the technical context, you may be looking at the Java backend developer profile. Same with, say, Ruby on Rails. When you see that someone is a Ruby on Rails developer, it is very likely they have been developing websites using Ruby programming language. And and full stack developers combine both backend and front-end functionality. They can do both. They don't specialize in front-end nor backend, but they can do both at the same time. Okay, so hopefully this is clear by now, at least on a high level. We will go deeper, certainly. We have also dedicated mind maps that cover web development landscape with JavaScript. So this is just a high-level overview. Of course, there is a lot more to explore when it comes to analyzing technical job requirements within this particular domain, or screening candidates who are PHP developers. But anyway, hopefully this is clear. If not, then ask me questions in comments below this video. Anyway, just looking at some other nodes, mobile app development is also booming these days. In the last few years, a lot of companies develop their own applications, and they have two different options. They can either implement native applications or cross-platform mobile applications. So when they choose to develop native applications, and there are some reasons why they could or should, then they need to choose the platform, and usually they choose both because, well, people use both Android and iOS, probably half-half. So companies need to develop both iOS and Android applications at the same time, which means they need one iOS developer, one Android developer. And the iOS developer would use, for example, Objective-C or Swift, while the Android developer would use Java or Kotlin programming languages. Okay, so it also depends on the company, on the hiring manager, on the client. Probably they already have some existing code base written in Kotlin. So then you would be looking for a Kotlin Android native application developer. If they don't have any code base just yet, if they start a new mobile application from scratch, then probably they would go with a newer version. For example, with regards to iOS platform, it would be Swift. Swift is the newer preferred programming language to choose. Or alternatively, they can choose to create cross-platform application, and they can choose from 3 different programming languages. It is JavaScript, C# or Dart. So there are different ways how developers can create mobile applications, and at this point, we will not discuss what are the pros and cons of these different options, but rather what does it mean for you as a recruiter when a hiring manager says they need a cross-platform mobile application developer. Well, it literally means that you are not looking for an iOS or Android native application developer, but it means that you are looking for someone who can use either React Native or Ionic or Xamarin. So some of these frameworks written in C# or in JavaScript. And this is something we need to practice a little. I know it may seem a little cumbersome and overwhelming at the same time, just because there are so many IT terms, so many languages and frameworks. But a mind map like this can probably help you visualize it a little and understand. In any case, don't forget that inside the members area, we have all these different modules where you can dive deeper. So just thinking of mobile application developers, you can open up this module that focuses on recruiting mobile app developers, and you can learn how to analyze related job requirements, how to find candidates, whether for native or cross-platform hybrid application development, and how you can screen them. So what are the screening questions that you should be asking these IT professionals? Okay, so if you need any more help with regards to this area, then go to the members area and take it from there. Moving on to other positions or other roles, desktop application developers. Well, there is not such a huge demand after these desktop developers, just because not too many companies really need a desktop application. These days, people use mobile, they use tablets, they use websites to, in Chrome or in Firefox to use any kind of application. So I'll not spend too much time on this node. Plus, there are analysts, as you've seen on the previous mind map. So the analyst could be business analyst or system analyst or a data warehouse analyst or a data analyst. So different kinds of analysts based on what part of the IT system do they focus on. If the person is closer to the business stakeholder, then we are talking about the business analyst. If someone has been working in IT for several years as a developer and then transitions to being an analyst, then it's very likely that the person will be a system analyst. If someone is working in a data warehouse, then they will need to analyze the data warehouse itself and all the tables and schemas and whatnot. So we are talking about data warehouse analyst, DWH analyst, or data analyst, someone who can analyze data in a database with SQL or create some reports in Power BI or Tableau. So again, a dedicated module inside the Tech Recruitment Academy, which can help you go deeper in this particular area, because it must be really confusing because there are so many different types of these. So at first, you would need to go through the IT terminology, understand what are the differences, who is closer to the IT developer, who is closer to the stakeholder, what are the specifics, how can you find, for example, a product data analyst, who is the person you should go after, and how to compose a good Boolean search string. So this is exactly what you will find inside the module called Recruiting Analysts and Architects. Okie dokie. So moving on, AI and ML specialists are in high demand, but there are very few of them out there. So AI, artificial intelligence, ML, machine learning, there is a lot of money to be made recruiting these, but at the same time, there are not that many of them on the market. So you may spend months and months looking for them only to place one candidate, while the backend or front-end developers are much easier and faster to fulfill. Managers, we are talking about product managers or project managers. We are talking about VP of engineering or a technical development lead. So these are the people who manage on a daily basis. They work as, for example, VP of engineering. They have one-on-ones with their teams and solves all these operational issues with teams. There are also some managers who are not managing people, not managing individuals, but rather managing products. They may not have any direct staff under their supervision, but they are responsible for the product or project. So in that case, we are talking about product or project managers. And I'll keep this for later, the difference between these two. So it's slightly different as, say, VP of engineering, because the VP of engineering manages people directly. Hoppa, that's a strange circle. So the VP of engineering usually takes care of the whole IT department, while the CTO is more the executive kind of role, the visionary, the technical visionary in the team. And then there are also some roles defined by the Scrum methodology. So, for example, a product owner or a Scrum master are the people who do not manage individuals, but they help them to be more efficient. A product owner takes care of the backlog, prepares the backlog for the development team, while the Scrum master helps the team to overcome obstacles. Business intelligence specialists, well, these people are in high demand these days because more and more companies realize how important the data is, and there is this need to analyze data and interpret data for the management. So we are talking about database developers who build the data structures in a database. Database administrators need to maintain the database server so that the data is stored safely and backed up properly. The data warehouse developer is a specialist who usually works in a data mart, on a data warehouse environment. The ETL developer, also called, is responsible for different loads of data. So they load data from one system to another system. A BI analyst or a BI architect, these two are usually part of the business intelligence team. They are closer to business stakeholders. They usually don't know how to create a database. They don't have to, because they have often the industry knowledge. They may have the business acumen, so to speak. Data analyst can interpret data stored in a database. A data scientist is a more advanced IT professional. It's not probably even IT now when I'm thinking about it. Well, it is, but they don't develop anything. They analyze data. They apply math and science methods, and they are able to predict some future data points based on some past data points. So they deploy some more advanced data science methods. Oracle developer, that's similar to the data warehouse developer. Now when I'm thinking about it, they could be probably next to each other, because those who build data warehouses usually use Oracle, not always, but Oracle is the go-to database. Power BI is someone who uses Power BI tool. That's the name of the tool or the company providing the tool that is for reporting, for dashboarding. And business intelligence consultant, that's actually a similar role to the data warehouse developer. It could be seen, I mean, it depends on the definition in the particular company, but could be seen as such. Okay, so that's data and BI. Testing and QA. There are lots of testers out there still, even though there has been this shift from manual to automated testing, shift from just clicking or tapping here and there, filling in data manually, to test automation. The huge advantage of test automation is that that tests can be run continuously every day, even 10 times, 100 times, while with manual testing it's impossible, or it is possible, but only with a very small number of tests, while with automated tests it could run forever. And that's why there has been this shift. So you are likely to look for quality assurance engineers or test automation engineers, just because a lot of companies are shifting to the automation testing. QA engineer, QA manager, these are sort of different titles for pretty much a similar role. I mean, the manager may manage, but in some cases the manager doesn't have any direct stuff underneath, but the QA engineer can write code to test automatically. So the test automation engineer and QA engineer could be seen as the same professional. Okay, this one, that's not the nicest one, but now it is. Software tester, it's just a synonym. Okay, administrators. There are system administrators, or some administrators focus on a very specific platform, a specific operating system, for example, Windows or Linux. So those who specialize in Linux, they are Linux administrators, and those who specialize in Windows are Windows administrators. Okay, so some administrators don't want to specialize, they can do both Windows and Linux, so they are, or we can refer to them as system administrators. So it really depends who the hiring manager is looking for. Some administrators only focus on databases. I was already showing you this professional here. And network administrators, especially in larger organizations where there is a huge network, lots of peripherals, lots of printers, computers, devices, mobiles, or CCTV cameras connected, they need to be managed by a network administrator. Support specialists include, for example, IT support specialists or technical support person, application support engineer, help desk specialist. I could just, for example, tell you that some of them are customer facing, so those may help customers to overcome some of the technical challenges, while others may be seen as employee facing. So for example, the help desk specialist in some companies may be seen as someone who is on the phone trying to help employees when their computer doesn't work or the printer cannot be connected, etc. But the application support engineer could also be someone in a larger company, someone who can help employees when some internal application doesn't work. So when their intranet doesn't work, for example. Cybersecurity specialists include cybersecurity engineers or security software developers, security analysts. So these IT professionals are in high demand. They are in demand because more and more companies are under attack with all these hackers. So they need to prioritize their security, and that's why the cybersecurity specialists are in high demand. Architects could help companies design the software or system, or also security, as I mentioned with the cybersecurity specialists. So just based on what do they focus on, we can categorize them to these few categories. Cloud specialists include cloud systems engineers. They usually focus on a specific cloud. So in the previous video, when we were looking at the must-know IT terms, I was explaining a few cloud providers. I was mentioning what are they. So there is Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, IBM Cloud, Oracle Cloud, SAP Cloud, Alibaba Cloud. So all these different cloud providers. And a cloud specialist usually focuses on one of them. That's why they become specialists. They get certified from the cloud provider, and they can help different companies adopt the cloud effectively. So these are the cloud specialists. And the DevOps engineers usually have also the cloud experience. Sometimes they can use two different cloud systems, but not on such an intimate level as those cloud specialists. However, DevOps engineers can also take care of the overall DevOps setup with regards to the tools, best practices. They can help developers to adopt the DevOps culture and everything that comes with it. SRE is a very similar role in the United States. I think it was Google that has invented this role. They call it site reliability engineer. So someone who is like a DevOps engineer, but they call it site reliability engineer. There are some differences in the methodology, but from our recruitment perspective, it's insignificant. So when you look for a DevOps engineer, you may as well look for the keyword SRE and then interview people to see if they are a good fit. And the last node on this very comprehensive mind map focuses on designers. So there are designers that focus on the user experience, that's UX, or some designers focus on user interface, that's UI. Some designers focus on the whole customer experience, and they are able to do some user research, and they do some visual design, some web design, user interface, user experience. So, some like to specialize and work for multiple clients, and some designers work for one client, and they just learn to do everything because that's what the client or the company they work for eventually needs. So with that, we covered the whole mind map. I hope this was a decent overview. You understand the IT ecosystem just by looking at who works in IT. These are the roles that you are very likely to recruit as a recruiter in IT. And as I mentioned, inside the Tech Recruitment Academy, we have dedicated modules that can help you analyze those job requirements, for example, with designers, right? So you can learn how to recruit product designers, UX, UI, customer experience designers, graphical designers. You can learn how to screen them, what questions to ask them. So everything is inside of this module. And the other modules follow the same structure. So if you have a client who is looking for, web developers, full stack, C#, then you can just open up this particular module. You can see what would I ask the hiring manager based on the job description. You can see what would I ask the candidate based on his or her resume, and then you would see if the match is good or not. So the whole IT ecosystem is quite confusing, but hopefully with some of these mind maps and worksheets and the materials that I have created, it's not too overwhelming. It's just about like really going through all of these and embracing the learning. It's part of the game. IT keeps changing, new technologies come and go. So new just come and the old go, right? So we just need to embrace it and adopt. But that's fun, right? That's the best part about IT. We can keep learning continuously. So I hope this was useful, and don't forget there are many more mind maps to go, so stay tuned. And if you would like to find more IT candidates and talk to them with confidence, then the whole booklet with over 40 mind maps can be useful for you, especially if you are transitioning from non-tech field to IT, because this booklet includes 40 mind maps that cover the whole IT landscape. We start on a high level with IT roles, and then we dive deeper to web development, mobile, desktop development, and then even deeper. So for example, software web development with JavaScript. So there is a mind map, for example, that covers data and data related roles, and even developer personas, so you get to understand developers a little better, so you can learn a little more about the developer psychology also through these mind maps. And these mind maps will be priceless, especially if you would like to talk if you'd like to speak tech with IT hiring managers, or if you would like to engage with IT candidates. So these mind maps will give you the vocabulary you need to engage with IT professionals with confidence. And now you can download the PDF file on our website. Just go to itrecruitermindmaps.com and download the PDF file. You can also join our members area, where you can see for at least 40 videos, and you can watch a video related to the mind map you are just looking at. So you can see all these videos and you can watch them right now. I have pre-recorded these videos because I know how hard it is for someone who is just transitioning from non-tech field to understand this IT vocabulary, this IT mess, so to speak. So I try to explain it in human language as easy as possible. You can watch these videos inside the members area. So just go to the website itrecruitermindmaps.com and get yours. Get the PDF now and join the members area. See you there.